Welcome back to my video here in Anth.Tech, and now I have my brand new Galaxy S8 Plus, and here it is. Now just a few weeks ago I did a review on the LG G6. Now these are top two phones of 2017 so far, but personally I think the S8 Plus blows it away compared to the G6. Now if you'd like to see a comparison video between the S8 Plus and the G6, drop a like down below showing that you'd like to see that comparison video. And let's go ahead and take a look at the S8 Plus and its features that it has. Here is the S8 Plus, and it comes in this black color, which they call Midnight Black. This reminds me a whole bunch of the jet black iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, since it is so shiny. But with this Gorilla Glass 5, it will not scratch as easy. Now this has a thickness of 8.1 millimeters, a height of 159.5 millimeters, and a width of 73.4 millimeters. The weight of this is 6.1 ounce or 173 grams. To take a look on the top, you will see the SIM card and SD tray, a microphone. From the left, you'll see the volume rocker up and down, and the brand new Bixby button. Down at the bottom is a 3.5 millimeter jack, and a microphone, a USB-C for charging, and a speaker. Then on the right is where the power button is. To start off specs wise, this has a beautiful 6.2 inch Super AMOLED Infinity display, which is an OLED panel, which means that it has really deep blacks and really bright whites and really great colors. This is also one of the first mobile screens that offer true HDR, so the colors will look so great on this phone. The pixels on the screen are arranged at a 1440 by 2960 count, and that might sound a little bit odd, and that is because the aspect ratio is 18 by 5 by 9, and not the normal 16 by 9. So that is why the pixel count is 1440 by 2960, which is a new aspect ratio. When you're watching YouTube videos and different apps, there could be black bars on the top and bottom or left and right depending on what orientation you are in, but when you're scrolling you will just see more and there's more screen real estate. Now the pixel density on the S8 Plus is 529 pixels per inch. That is a total of 3,280 pixels in here. Now this has an amazing 84% screen to body ratio, which they call the Infinity display. Like I said, the bezels are really small, than you can see. With that being said, the home button, back button, and multitask button are now on screen, and their order can be changed in settings as they are capacitive and no longer hardware buttons, which means they will vibrate the phone to make it feel like a button. Covering all that up is Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and back, which is used on most newer smartphones and is really durable and won't scratch as easy. Flipping it over is the fingerprint scanner, which is really fast, and some say it's not in a good spot. Personally, I like the placement. Now there are multiple ways to unlock this. For biometric, you can use iris scanning, facial recognition, and fingerprint. Then for lock type, you can set a pattern, PIN, or password. And these all work really fast, but facial recognition and fingerprint are going to be more secure. Now flipping it back over, there is the camera, which I'll talk about in a bit. Now this has a heart rate sensor, which is integrated with S Health, which is then integrated to my S3 Frontier, which all works in harmony across all my Samsung devices. Now going to the camera, this is very similar to the S7, S7 Edge camera, but this one has a new sensor on the S8 and S8 Plus, which has better image processing. This has a 12 megapixel shooter at f1.7. Now this has a pretty wide 26mm, which is pretty good. It also features phase detection autofocus, OIS or optical image stabilization, and a LED flash which is really bright. Now a shooting video on the back, you can record at 3040 by 2960, 4K at 30 frames per second, 1920 by 1080, 1080p HD at 60 frames per second. So here's a camera test with videos and pictures of the S8's back camera. Now the front-facing camera has an upgraded 8 megapixel camera, which is also at f1.7, and something new is autofocus. No other smartphone has autofocus on the front camera, it's usually just one set focus. So it's pretty cool to see on the S8 Plus and the S8. On the front you can record at 1440p at 30 frames per second, which is really good. Now in the camera settings you can tweak a lot of stuff. So that's the really cool thing about Android and Samsung's is that they have a thing called manual mode, which lets you do more and makes it feel like a real camera. Inside this has the brand new Snapdragon 835, which is very snappy and fast, and more conservative on the battery compared to the 821 and 820. Then for graphics, the S8 Plus packs an Adreno 540, which is awesome, and you can experience zero stuttering during gameplay. And it has 4 GB of RAM to also help. Now it does have 64 GB of internal storage, but because of the operating system, which is Android 7.0 Nougat, you only get about 60 GB of storage. Then you can add a micro SD card, which supports up to 256 gigs. So in theory, you can max it out at 320 GB minus the OS, so you can get about 316 GB of storage, which is a lot. Now going back to the operating system, which is Android 7.0 Nougat, this has Samsung's TouchWiz, which is a very minimal version, and might I say, this looks better than the Pixel. So just like the Pixel, to go to the app drawer, you swipe up. Now there's no longer the drawer button, it is addable in the settings, but this makes it so much easier for one-handed use, which I also love the new icons. So the battery in the S8 Plus packs 3,500 milliamp hours of juice, and that can get me about a whole day, day and a half, possibly even 2. Now I am running YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, and much more, which are pretty power hungry. So I'm actually pretty surprised and also impressed of the S8 Plus's battery life. Now this does have Bluetooth 5. Now compared to Bluetooth 4, this has 2 times the speed, 4 times the range, and 8 times the data, which is really impressive. Now one key thing that this phone has, and many newer smartphones should have in 2017, is USB Type-C, and also wireless charging, which are pretty cool compared to micro USB, which I actually did a full comparison between the two. Check it out in the card above. So now the speakers on the S8 Plus compared to the S7 and S7 Edge are very similar, and that's because of the IP68 water and dust resistance. So there's a shield behind the speaker, which kind of causes a little bit of distortion, but they definitely improved it on the S8 Plus. So go ahead and take a listen. Okay, that's going to wrap up the review of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you'd like to see a comparison between this and the LG G6, leave a like down below showing that you'd like to see a comparison. These are definitely 2 of the top 2 smartphones for 2017, but if I were you, I would rather go with the S8 Plus or the S8 just because of the updated specs and the better resolution and just a few different features. And as always, stay classy.